Welcome back once again to the You Should Get a License podcast edition. This is Rod Powell, and we are the number one source for information, education, and inspiration on the most underrated career opportunity today. That is a career in financial services and in the insurance industry. Today, really excited to speak to our guest. He's someone who has accomplished a lot, a Wharton Business School fellow, coming through here. So he's the real deal. But really someone who started in this industry, kind of started on a conventional path, went into the investment securities, branched out, built his own firm. I'll give you his mission statement because I really enjoyed reading it. The mission of Everett Capital is to inform, educate, and empower our clients through holistic, goal-based planning so that current and future generations may have access to the knowledge and tools to grow and protect their assets, thereby ending the cycle of poverty through the placement of specific wealth building vehicles and strategic execution. Generational wealth starts with you. I want to welcome to the You Should Get a License platform, President, CEO of Everett Capital, Mr. Bradley Everett. Bradley, how you doing?
I'm great, Rod. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. That introduction, I've never heard read aloud, read back like that. It felt good.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, when you read it, it feels empowering already, right? It's really compelling, for us to kind of call attention to the things that we do need to pay attention to. Generational wealth does start with us, right? Today, like for many people, and I know the African American community. I can only speak from the experiences of my community. It's not something that we're traditionally taught about or talked about, not something that we've traditionally seen in our family lineages. So I just think it's really encouraging and enlightening, to see it on your mission statement. So I appreciate it. So I wanted to make sure that our listeners know exactly what you represent and what you're all about. Speaking of, so on this platform, we speak to, individuals who are either in the industry, maybe people who are making their transition. A large portion of our audience are people who are in their first year in the business, really kind of determining, which way, which lane, which market they're going to find themselves in, because there's a lot of different paths. I'd love for you to just take a minute, just talk about, what you do, kind of what your focus is on a day-to-day basis with your firm and Everett Capital.
Yeah. So what I do now has grown a lot, really out of the pandemic and being able to, or forced to sit still and, ingest new information and figure out how, to make the most out of, some of these products and, learning about them a little more. So now the way I try and plan, structure the planning for people who don't need to be convinced, put it that way. It's people who've already bought into the process and the value of the assets. I now try and structure the planning around liquidity as well as the protection. So there are some very specific products. I've only seen them at a few carriers. I'm sure other ones have them, but there are very specific ones where we can structure the protection around liquidity and give you the best of both worlds. It's and then on the other side of that, we open up that same liquidity for you to dip your toe in the equity markets. Especially people who are new to it, don't know where to start. Okay, well, let's get this basic cornerstone of your portfolio done first. Now, so we don't ever have to talk about it again. My goal is I only want to talk about insurance once. I want to do it right the first time, and then let's let the rest of our interaction, the rest of our lives and time together, let's let it be focused on different ways for you to make more money.
That's right.
Because now, if we have these basic things in place, we don't ever have to worry about, are you saving enough? Are you planning enough? We've already done that. Unless you get a promotion or find some other source of income, we don't have to talk about that ever again.
Absolutely. So really, we're looking at, hey, look, first, let me show you how to save and kind of protect your assets, but then let's show you how to accumulate wealth and how you're going to grow, and make sure that you're planning properly for the future and for the next generations to come. You know, love that philosophy, man. Coming into this industry, is that like what you do now? And I like to say asset preservation, wealth accumulation, right?
Yep.
So where you are now, is that something that you always kind of had an aspiration for? Or is it, something that you found like in your adulthood? I know you have a rich history. You've done a lot. I know you come from a great family. Like, tell me, take me back to like 9-year-old, 10-year-old Bradley. What were you thinking about doing as you grew up?
That's a great question. I think I wanted to be a fighter pilot. Me and one of my childhood best friends were like obsessed with like airplanes and stuff. And he went on to become a shuttle mechanic, which is really cool. I didn't delve into the world of money until the beginning of my real world adulthood, being out on my own, maybe around 2012, when I was out on my own trying to budgeting for myself, working a few jobs, trying to understand the flow of my, the cash flow. Essentially, now I know to be my balance sheet, but the cash flow of my person and how I'm spending money here, there, how can I, trim back in this way or that way to, make room to spend or buy these things. And then I really had my eyes open during my time working at Madison Square Garden. And while I was there, I got to see the difference between. So every night I was doing the instant replay for the referees. So I would sit courtside, and whether it's replay, now I would flip the monitor around. You've seen them now, and they go and they watch the play. At the Garden, that is the last seat on the table before the seats that are sold. So right next to me was always someone who had paid for this seat, and I didn't because they was very unassuming looking people. Didn't really know until one day the guy had a lobster, and I asked him, "Hey, that wasn't in the media room because we would get our food from the media room before the game. Still great spreads, but I was like, hey, where was lobster at?" He said, "Oh, that's from the Duck Lounge, didn't you?" He thought I was there with him, and I thought he was there with me. So we were both confused as to why we had the wrong plates. And then that gave me some perspective about where the real money sat, as opposed to the flashy money, which was right across from me, Celebrity Row, where all the celebrities always sit. I remember that was when the Garden was always jumping. The Knicks were at probably the height of the popularity. We had Melo and Jeremy Lin. So all those game nights, there was all the celebrities there, and then I seeing that difference and how that money was represented on the person was what really kind of opened my eyes. And then I connected with a few hedge fund managers sitting next to me at the table, and it kind of took off from there.
Wow, man, that's an amazing story. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between the insurance and the financial planning and advising side, because I think that sometimes people get a little confused about what falls where. Now, when you say, hey, look, let's take care of this insurance piece, let's knock this out, make sure we have this locked in, then let's focus on the wealth building. Can you expand a little bit more on kind of what that means? Like when you tell somebody that, where are we looking at on each side?
So I'll start with your first question. The difference is in the process and the mindset of the client, and even myself going in. When someone's looking for insurance, those are more often than not just transactions. Sometimes they're big transactions. More often than not, they're medium sized, but those can be washed away with another conversation somewhere else, and you're forgotten about. they found someone else who they like better, or whatever the case may be. But the planning is more of a piece of the puzzle. And so in that way, as an advisor, it's a great way to build a moat around your people. And for them, they understand the place of this asset in their portfolio, and why it's there, and why it's a certain amount, why they're contributing this much, or why the language I use is so specific. Um, it's a much longer thing, and it can only really be accomplished with along with the mindset of the advisor. You can't really plan you can't really get into financial planning with them unless you know you're going in there to plan, and you know you're building a house brick by brick, even if they don't know it yet. But that's what you have to go in with the intention of doing.
Mm, mm, yeah, yeah. So it really is being a long-term, partner, kind of working alongside them, really when they start with you, perhaps in their working career, but also all the way through into retirement, and then looking at, okay, now how are we going to position ourselves, to make sure we don't, even outlive, what we've accumulated in that time frame.